The right to bear arms was in our Constitution before the right to vote. Did you know that? That is how important the right to bear arms were to our founding fathers. I'm not taking a stand here. The right to vote is critical. But the Second Amendment should not be restricted in any way. To put a fee on access is no different than putting a poll tax on. And that's abhorrent to all of us. But somehow we have accepted in our society restrictions and practices that little bit nibbles and nibbles away at our right to protect ourselves and to protect our country and to protect our freedoms. I don't want, local governments are expected to pay for all election costs because it's a basic right. It's very costly. What's the difference with protection of the Second Amendment? Why is there a cost to that? Certain things government does, certain things government pays for. All of us pay for. There are certain rights. I don't have to vote, but I have the right to vote. And I pay taxes to make sure we have that right to vote without a cost. Some folks do not want to bear arms or carry arms. That's their right. But they have a united cost to make sure that those who wish to do that, have that constitutional right, should do that. So quite frankly, I'd like to see this fee disappear. I would like the state to handle it. Now there's a quandary too. If we're going to put a restriction, I do want the local sheriff to handle it because I elect him. I really don't want somebody in the state Department of Attorney General's office or somewhere, whichever would be the state patrol, handling that. I'm trying to figure out why I have to have a permit to buy arms anyway. If I have to have a permit to buy arms, maybe we need a voter ID law, which makes sense to me. Both of them proves that I'm a citizen and I have the right to exercise my constitutional rights. So which rights do you want to take away and which rights do you want to put restrictions on? Raising this fee, as Senator Hilgert said, starts putting restrictions on people's right to bear arms. So I will not support LB 81. And quite frankly, I'd like to see the whole law disappear. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Ernie. Senator Chambers.
Mr. President, members of the legislature, the obfuscation by Senator Groney, Senator, the one I gave credit to the other day, is nonsense. There he is up in front. We're not talking about restricting the right to bear arms, and he knows it. Scalia said that this so-called Second Amendment right to carry these guns is not unlimited. It can be regulated. The Ninth U.S. Supreme Court, the Ninth Circuit of the U.S. Supreme Court, not U.S. Supreme Court, but the Ninth U.S. Circuit had talked about regulating this so-called constitutional right. I don't hear the man over there who works for the NRA and got money from them talking about the discriminatory laws and practices against black people in violation of constitutional rights. He doesn't do that. But because the NRA gave him money, he hops up. Senator Groney doesn't talk about discriminatory actions against black people and others that violate the U.S. Constitution. But when it comes to guns, here they come. Senator Groney did not listen to me well this morning, or he didn't understand, and I'm not surprised at that. You all don't pay attention to words. You're careless in the use of words. You're careless as far as the meaning of words. And I want to make something crystal clear here so the reporters won't be as off the beam as some of the others here. I said I'm perceived to be the most anti-law enforcement person. I didn't say I am. There are law enforcement people who remind me of the work I did to help produce, create, and maintain that law enforcement criminal, whatever they call it out there in Grand Island. One of them had been on the force 42 years. And I saw him coming out of a store, and he said he wanted to wait till he retired before he told me. But he began to tick off various bills and things that I had done that benefited law enforcement, raised the standards. But y'all don't see that because you're white. And you deal with what affects white people. This is a legislature of, by, and for white people, as is everything in this society. And I'm not going to stand here and listen to this nonsense that you talk. You can say it. That's what the purpose of our being here is for. But you put yourself on record and you show how ignorant you are. When the Constitution was written, and they talked about a well-regulated militia, that was not talking about individuals carrying guns in their pockets. I haven't heard Senator Hilger say that. Maybe he'll say it now that Senator Groney educated him. Do you all realize that there was treason committed against the king when the people in this country rose up against the king? That was treason. It was called, that nice term, revolution. It was unlawful action. And they were talking about, let us have this militia so if the king tries to come over here, something can be done about it. History doesn't mean anything to you all. Napoleon said history is a lie agreed upon. And he's right. But it also is a word that is applied to things which constitute a misapplication of history. This fee is not on the right to carry a gun. It is to defray the cost of obtaining a certificate. I like that Senator Hilger's a question because he knows everything.
1 minute. Senator Hilgers, will you yield, please?
Senator Hilgers, what is this fee related to, if you know?
It's related to the gun purchase permits, I believe, Senator Chambers.
Now, why is there such a permit required?
It's required under state law.
Who passed the state law?
I would presume the legislature.
Then they were restricting the right to carry guns when they did that, weren't they?
By imposing a fee, they put a burden on them, yes.
And you believe that that was a restriction on the right to carry a gun?
It was a burden, yes.
You begin to see the hole you put yourself in now, and you don't want to sound as dumb as some of these other people who are genuinely dumb and don't know better. You do know better. That's why you turn in as red as a beet. Your own conscience condemns you. And that's why white people were given the complexion so that we have a lie detector built in. We can see when you're lying. You know why I'm black? Because I will tell the truth. I don't owe you a lie. You're not important enough for me to lie to you. Did you say time?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks, Senator Chambers. Senator Har.
Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. I find that argument of Senator Hilger's, contrary to what Senator Chambers said, very convincing. When you have a constitutional right, you shouldn't have to pay. And that's why I'm very excited to see Senator Groney's and Hilger's bill that they're going to introduce, I assume, that says a woman shouldn't have to pay for abortion. I think that's right. I think that's a great bill they're bringing. Women shouldn't have to pay for abortion. It's a constitutional right. If you guys want me to co-sign on it, I might co-sign on it just so I can see Senator Hilgers get disinherited from his family. But other than that, folks, we make people pay for constitutional rights all the time. Come on, just because you have a right doesn't mean you don't have to pay if there is a fee associated, a cost associated, as long as it's reasonable, right? It's actually, it's a higher burden than reasonableness to put a burden on a constitutional right. But folks, we do it all the time. Senator Chambers brought it up, putting even this requirement on may be a burden on a constitutional right. The fact that there's a minimal fee, de minimis, to cover the cost is perfectly constitutional and perfectly fine. So I look forward to Senator Groney and Hilger's bills. Maybe the Lieutenant Governor will get a chance to sign it. I don't know. I doubt he would. But folks, let's have a serious debate about what this is about, which is who bears the responsibility for what we do. Should we want the counties to keep paying for this? We pass laws, we're really good at passing laws, by the way, and pushing that cost down to the counties. Do we want the counties to maybe have a chance to collect a fee, not a tax, a fee for the cost of what we give them? This is a reasonable bill. You take the word gun out, we wouldn't have a problem. It's that little 3-letter word, gun. That's what's getting everyone's dander up on this. This is a simple bill. Let's just pass the bill, move on so we can talk about something more important like, I don't know, guns on campuses. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator Hart. Senator Durante.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, good afternoon. I rise in support of FA 84 and in opposition at the moment to the unamended version of LB 81. In my view, LB 81 is quite simply a very large tax increase on Second Amendment, and that's something that I really across the board. Fee increases are something that I have opposed consistently in my time in the legislature, and I think it is of some value to go back in some legislative history, because we are now removed from several classes of legislators and a government committee that was then chaired by Senator Avery.